Mushoku Tensei has the biggest variety of characters you'll see in anime, from a deadbeat father to a Mr. Beast employee to even throwing in Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. But it's time for me to tell you that Mushoku Tensei does not have the best characters in Isekai. What? What do you mean? Because it has the best characters in anime. And I'm gonna prove this by diving into how Mushoku Tensei's world affects the characters, as well as explaining the tragic truth behind the characters' relatability, and then decide who is the best Mushoku Tensei characters. Now that we just set up the boundaries for you guys to go at it in the comments like My Hero fans when they realize their ending is shit, let's just jump into it. So Mushoku Tensei is one of those anime that blew up onto the scene. Between Giga hyping this up to be the greatest piece of media since we created Ink, everyone went in with pretty high expectations. And after watching it, it's impressive how everyone's favorite part of the series can be completely different. Some people may love the characters, some people may love the story, the twists, the turns, and unfortunately, some people may watch it for the girls. For fuck's sake, man. If you're watching and you're a viewer of me watching for the waifus, please get some help and leave a like, comment, and subscribe and tell me who your favorite character is down below. But seriously, there is just a lot to be obsessed with when it comes to Mushoku Tensei. And now you may be thinking, hey dipshit, this video is about characters, why are you talking about the world? Well, listen here, Rem Lover 321, what if I told you the world is what makes these characters so great? I know. You see, anime worlds most of the time have nothing to do with anything. They're merely a setting for the story to take place, something to isolate a period of time, or in some cases, they're essential for the plot to move forward. And in the case of Mushoku Tensei, the world is everything, and although this video is arguing that its characters are the best in anime, you could easily make a video on why the world is the best in anime, which let me know if you want to see that down below. But in this situation, what it does for the characters can't be understated, and it's also what allows their flaws to be accepted. Characters like Paul and Eris literally do not work without the world that's been built up. So let's jump into those two, because although you could say this about any character in any anime, with these two, the world elevated them to becoming some of the best in the medium as a whole, and that is no exaggeration. Paul, though, is seen by some as the lowest of the low. Everyone just be hating on Paul. They be calling him a deadbeat. Oh, he a cheater. Oh, he hard on Rudy. But fuck all that. Paul is the OG of all OGs, and he deadass the only good father in all of anime. Like, y'all need to stop talking bad on my boy Paul, because RIP to the boss man. On Father's Day, no less, his life ended, but he went down as one of the best side characters in the series. With Paul, it's been established that he's a former knight of the highest order and has a history with a bunch of characters, both good history and bad history. And it's clear, although he cheats on his wife, considering the setting of the world, it's not uncommon of people of this period to cheat. And although this was unclear in the anime, he did actually marry Lilia after the whole incident, but Paul also uses some of the functions of this world to help Rudeus when it comes to sending him away to Eris, because Paul is also a member of a super important family. Not to mention, Paul's whole character arc when it comes to his relationship with Rudeus, Norn, Aisha, Lilia, his new crew, and of course Zenith, it's all completely different because of the massive event that happened in the world that affected every single character in the series, and the vastness and range of this world in terms of land, transportation, guilds, dungeons, and just the characters finding one another. They're all quintessential to his character. Every time Paul is on screen, it's like flexing on everyone that, yeah, this world is absolutely insane and it's real, and those systems we introduce matter. His lineage matters, distance matters, time matters, and there's nothing any of y'all trash ass anime can do that can compete with our world. There's some anime that can compete with it, but you could argue it is the best world. I could go on about Paul and his themes, but that would also be a whole nother video. So I think y'all have learned to put some respect on his name if you didn't already. But when it comes to Eris, let's be honest. When she was introduced, it was like, holy fuck, man, what happened to my chill-ass story we were watching before? We were in this nice little slice-of-life adventure watching our boy Rudeus. He was just doing his thing. Like, oh, nah, he not learning magic, we learning magic. And it's like, nah, he a little scared of the outside world, but Roxy gonna bring his ass outside, and we're gonna deal with that issue now. And everything was real calm, we're dealing with real small issues, and nothing was too intense. And then Eris comes in and it's like, Jesus Christ, this story gets this level of intensity out of absolutely nowhere. And a lot of people thought she was really annoying at first, and to be honest, she was. But she's another character where the context of this world is huge in understanding her as a character. And if you take the world out of her character, she is also kind of like nothing. Like, that kind of is all she got besides liking Rudeus.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
When she's introduced, we understand her position and her standing, that she's really privileged and annoying, and feels everything should be handed to her, and then there's a moment where someone is literally killed in front of her, and she doesn't even react. And Rudeus is sitting there like, what, dog? He is dead, like someone just died in front of us. But she doesn't even react, because in this world, it's normal for a noble to not really give a shit about anything else, and death happens all the time to everybody. But then the world affects her even more, because she has to train magic and swordplay, because as a noble, you do have to compete for power struggles and assassination attempts, but it's normal. It's not like this is unique to her. And when Turning Point happens, she goes from having every single thing in the world to having nothing at all, and learning what it's like to live with other people and actually care for others besides yourself. And throughout this whole progression of part 2 of season 1, you see the world bounce off her and change her perspective on things, as you see a privileged character all of a sudden become someone that wants to improve and be better. Then you have that moment where they return, only to find everything she loved was gone, her family is killed, which leads her to leaving Rudeus to go and be stronger on her own. If you don't get why the world matters to her character, literally every single thing that happened to her character, from getting kidnapped to teleported to her family dead, was a product of world events that wouldn't have hit as hard if Mushoku Tensei didn't take the time to build up its world that then set up these characters so well. Eris and Paul are two characters that in any other anime could have been static and annoying, but the world beats them down and tears them apart, only for them to seek out aspects of the world they're in to build themselves back up. They weren't the trash they were before, but instead they are characters with complex morals and desires. Well, I guess Eris does just really want to be Rudeus' third wife, but it came from a place of complexity. And with that being said, it's time to understand the darkness of all these characters and the real tragic reason behind why all these characters are loved and just how relatable they are. I'm just gonna address this again here fully, but I think it's gonna be weird to talk about Rudeus being relatable when you know all that creepy stuff he got going on. And a lot of people talk about this scene and they're like, yes, you're supposed to be disgusted by him and what he does and think he's a piece of shit, and this scene is what convinces you he's a bad guy. Look, I thought he was a loser beforehand. He was literally worshipping Roxy's shit. Like, we all knew he was a creep before this scene. All this scene did was make us all feel uncomfortable and question if we should continue watching the show. So long story short, when we talk about Rudeus being relatable, we're going to be talking as if some of those scenes don't exist as much, because nobody relating to that except. But besides Rudeus, a lot of people forget that characters like Roxy and Norn are some of the most tragic characters in the series that have many stories that many will relate to because of how real their characters can feel. Roxy's a character that gets understated a lot because the highlight of her depth came at a shorter part of an episode, but when you think about the fact that nobody wanted to communicate with her because she couldn't communicate with them, and how long she's actually been alive and how long she was isolated, you understand that, like, hold up, she must have been pretty damn alone for most of her life. And although she eventually left, it wasn't because she was excited to leave home, but it was because she was searching for one. And she would go house to house, kingdom to kingdom, to teach others magic just in order to find kinship with somebody, due to the fact that she never had that. Now, I think we all have had some friend or known somebody that we just kept in the group because we knew they wanted to be there. And they're often a friend that we may not make fun of or jump around to tell them what's going on in their lives, but we can tell that just inviting them to things is enough to make them really happy. And that's Roxy before meeting Rudeus, just looking for something to latch onto. And with that in mind, her actions at the end of season 2 make much more sense. Now, shout out to the light novel readers, because most of the time, we as anime onlys hate those pesky bums, scum of the earth, manga is better crowd, or the read light novel bros. Like, I'm not gonna read. What do I look like? Shakespeare? Read a book? Only LeBron reads books. But in this case, the light novel readers educated me on the fact that Roxy got done real dirty in season 2 because she got a lot of stuff removed. And this is not major spoilers, by the way, but Roxy getting labeled a cheater is officially declared unfair, because in the light novel it was said that Rudeus was sat there like a mummy, not wanting to talk to anybody for weeks, until Elenice told Roxy to go and save him. So Roxy did just that because she wanted to help him and be of use to him, because he has helped her so many times in the past when he was younger at home and accepting her. So it all makes sense of why she wouldn't mind being a second wife to him, because although she does love Rudeus, what she's really looking for is a place to call home and a time to be of use to somebody. And there's a lot of people out there that are just floating at sea waiting for somebody to save them, trying to grasp at anybody or anything because they feel like they aren't accepted anywhere they go, and they've given up the desire to be accepted, but instead just want to be of use to somebody so they feel their existence matters. That's what Rudeus is to Roxy, and god damn, holy shit, I can't believe I wrote that. Like, that's some serious shit, man. And like, if you're sad and is you relating to that real heavy, go check out Dr. K. He gonna be your messiah. But with that being said, Norn also mirrors many of the same tropes of Roxy, but instead I feel how she came out of it is much better than Roxy did, because let's be honest, the grand solution to your mental health resulting in you being somebody's second wife is, you know, like we ain't gonna hate on you, because we ain't gonna disrespect you like that, but like, there's better solutions out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's other things you can do to build yourself back up. Like, you don't, being a second wife should not be your goal in life, in my humble opinion. But like I said, Norn feels all the same loneliness Roxy does, except instead of being isolated because of her lack of ability to communicate, she feels isolated because she's surrounded by comparisons of her brother. Not only that, but every person that interacts with her doesn't care for her in any capacity, but just wants to communicate with somebody that is related to Rudeus. Mushoku Tensei has created this isolation around her character. Within the anime, you can feel this claustrophobia around her, like she's being surrounded and choked by everything going on. All the comparisons to her brother, you feel that weight on her of just all the comparisons, and it's like Atlas holding the world together, because she's just reminded of her own imperfections time and time again. And you know there's gonna be that moment where that one comment is gonna hit her too hard and it's all gonna come crumbling down. And although her conversation with Rudeus is a resolution, Mushoku Tensei does this well time and time again, because they know just one stupid conversation isn't gonna magically make you okay. We see this time and time again in anime. A character dies and the main character is upset, and then boom, one conversation and all of a sudden we're all good. Like, we're back to where we were before. Like, he's happy, he's ready to go save the world, he's ready to go be the messiah. But nah, Mushoku Tensei understands that yes, Norn is out of whatever spell she was in, but we still don't see her all of a sudden become the most popular character in the world or start achieving things, because growth takes time, and just because she got back on the right track doesn't mean all of a sudden the next day everything is going to be okay. And this is true in the world and real life in so many ways, because even when you get over a struggle, it's not like it doesn't come back at some point, whether it's the next week, the next month, or maybe even the next day. You can get hit with a wave of anxiety at any time, but it's a battle every day. And with the characters in this world, you see them get tested time and time again, so when they do grow and they do change, it feels earned. But with all that being said, we understand Norn, Paul, Eris, Roxy, but now it's time to determine who's the best character. Who's the one that stands apart the rest and brings out all these elements in the best way possible. And as much as I would like to shock you with some insane wisdom and some twists and some, oh my god, they're the best character is Rudeus. And I know, it's the most obvious choice, but I'm not just gonna pick something different for the sake of coming up with some like stupid ass logic to defend it. But just so you know, the other three I was considering were Paul, Eris, and Norn, and I feel like if we got some more scenes with Norn in part 2, or got in a 3-episode run with Eris in season 2, I would have been more comfortable putting in one of them over him, but that's just not the case here, and there's arguments for those characters, but we don't need to get into that. Rudeus is a deplorable and loser of a character that drives the story, and oftentimes this is the type of MC that makes the story miserable to get through. Not only are they a loser, but they're also just like annoying as like, I don't know what Tokyo Revengers think they have in Takemichi, but Jesus Christ, he is terrible, and don't get me started with Deku's bum ass. But shout out Kafka though. Either go and check out my Kaiju no 8 video, because that shit is so slept on. But I don't think I need to go on about how Rudeus is the lowest of the low, and that he walks on this path to redemption, because let's be honest, there's hundreds of videos on that. But instead, I want to talk about how the story uses Rudeus. Rudeus is constantly getting things thrown at him time and time again that reflect his deepest insecurities and issues, and it's just to make Rudeus feel as uncomfortable as possible at any situation. Everybody knows how important the scene was where Roxy took him outside, but what about when he's faced with the reality of the world, when somebody is killed in front of him, or when he's left to make a decision to trust Rudeus or not, or when he lets someone die, or when he's trapped in a forest? There's so many times when we see Rudeus put in a situation that we would never see any other anime character being put in. We're really the only ones like him, being Thorfinn or Eren, that rival him in terms of being put in morally questionable situations. For example, Luffy is never going to be in a real situation where he needs to save one crew member over another, and I mean a true situation where one will die and one will live. But Mushoku Tensei isn't scared of doing that with Rudeus. He makes hard choices all the time, and we see him have to choose which family he wants to fight for, the one that was given to him or the one that he created. And we see him struggle with this decision and go back and forth deciding to stay or to go, and what is right or wrong. And we know that Rudeus is not not the most morally perfect character by any means. I mean, this dude is creepy as hell, but we still want to see him help everyone, and he never wants to feel alone and isolated again. But he's bound to hurt someone regardless, and what Mushoku Tensei does that makes this even better is that his choice has consequences. If he stays, he will never marry Roxy, and who knows if they would have even attempted the dungeon without him, and Paul may still be alive. But instead, this action does have consequences, and Rudeus is put in a situation where he lets people down, with his only reward being a mentally broken Zenith that he traded basically his relationship with his wife, potentially his father, and a lot of time. But with that being said, he didn't want to walk away with nothing, so he wifed up Roxy on the way home. Now, Rudeus' flaws are creepy, and he could be a great character without them, but he is the exact reason why Mushoku Tensei has characters and a cast that are unmatched by any other. So with that being said, why don't you check out my video on why Isekai is going to overtake all anime, and make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget, we're just getting started, we're going to stay consistent, and I will see you in the next video.